All right, let's talk about one of the biggest headaches for any modern business, just this massive, overwhelming flood of data. Today, we're going to break down how companies are not just trying to survive this data tsunami, but are actually using some incredible new tech to turn it all into a powerful, intelligent advantage.
So, first question, are businesses really drowning in data? Oh, you bet they are. I mean, think about it for a second. Information is pouring in from literally everywhere. You've got your supply chains, all the chatter on social media, your websites, and of course, just mountains of internal data from your ERP systems. Now, this crazy growth in data, it creates a huge opportunity, for sure, but it's also a massive challenge. How in the world do you make sense of it all?
Well, the very first step in solving this puzzle is you have to get better data from the physical world, and you need it in real time. And this brings us to a really key technology that's basically bridging the gap between a physical product and the digital world: radio frequency identification, or as most people call it, RFID.
So to put it simply, an RFID tag is kind of like a tiny, super smart label. You attach this little thing with its microprocessor and antenna onto an item and boom, you can track its location using a reader that sends out radio waves. It is a huge leap forward for tracking things efficiently all the way through a supply chain.
And this is where you really see why RFID is such a game changer. I mean, with the traditional barcodes we're all used to, a reader needs a direct line of sight, and it can totally fail if the label gets smudged or wet. RFID doesn't have those problems. But the real kicker is that you can scan hundreds of RFID tags at once, instead of one at a time. Just imagine checking an entire pallet of goods in a matter of seconds.
And here's the proof in the real world. This number, 14.3%. That's the sales increase that the retailer American Apparel saw in the stores where they implemented RFID. And you might ask why? Well, it's simple. Because with nearly perfect inventory accuracy, they slash the number of out-of-stock situations. When a customer wants a certain size, it's actually there. Simple as that.
And RFID isn't just for selling jeans. No way. It's revolutionizing some really critical industries. In pharmaceuticals, it's being used to create an e-pedigree for drugs, fighting counterfeits by tracking them right down to the individual package. And in healthcare, hospitals are tracking high-value items like heart stents, which can cost up to $2,000 each, and they're getting nearly 100% inventory accuracy. That means making sure they don't expire on the shelf. That's a big deal.
Okay, so we're capturing these enormous amounts of real-time data with technologies like RFID. That's great, but collecting the data is really only half the battle. The next, and honestly even bigger challenge, is analyzing that flood of information fast enough to make smart, split-second decisions.
This is exactly where business intelligence, or BI, comes into the picture. The best way to think of BI is like the brain of the whole operation. It's a whole suite of tools, everything from data mining to cool interactive visuals that take all that raw data and turn it into insights you can actually use. Insights that can guide your strategy and just plain improve how your business runs.
But here's the problem. The old, traditional BI systems, they were often just too slow for the modern world. They relied on pulling data from old-school hard disk drives, and that process created a pretty significant delay. A latency. You just couldn't get instant answers because the data wasn't instantly accessible. So true real-time analysis of big data, yeah, that was pretty much impossible.
The breakthrough solution to this whole speed problem is a technology called in-memory computing. Now, the concept is radically simple, but it is incredibly powerful. Instead of storing all your data on slow, spinning hard disks, you just store it directly in the computer's main memory, or what we all know as RAM.
And to really appreciate the just mind-boggling difference in speed, you have to look at this comparison. Accessing data from a hard disk, that takes about 13 milliseconds. From memory, it takes around 83 nanoseconds. To put that in perspective for you, if a hard disk speed is a banana slug, in-memory computing is an F-18 fighter jet. It is not just a little improvement, it's a complete transformation of what is even possible.
Now, you might be wondering, how can you possibly fit massive corporate databases into memory which has way less space than hard disks? Well, the answer is some very, very clever engineering. First, systems like SAP's HANA store data in columns instead of rows. And second, they use really advanced compression. So if a column has, say, 100 blank entries, the system doesn't store 100 empty spaces, it just makes one single note, which drastically shrinks the data's footprint. It's brilliant.
So what this incredible leap in speed really means is that the whole concept of big data finally becomes manageable. Companies can now analyze huge volumes of data from their ERP systems, social media, websites, you name it, all in real time. They can ask super complex questions on the fly and get answers instantly, turning data from just a historical record into a live, strategic asset.
All right, let's move on to the final piece of this puzzle. You've captured real-world data. You've analyzed it at lightning speed. Now what? How do you actually get those powerful insights to the people on the front lines? The sales reps, the field technicians, the executives, wherever they happen to be?
The answer, of course, is mobile. Back in 2011, a huge shift happened. For the very first time, sales of smartphones and tablets actually overtook PCs. And that changed everything. Employees, who were already used to powerful apps in their personal lives, started demanding that same level of accessibility and power from their work tools.
And you know what? Businesses have absolutely responded. We are seeing a boom in corporate mobile apps that are deeply tied into those core enterprise systems. Insurance adjusters can now process claims right from the field. Pfizer has an app that helps traveling employees find and connect with colleagues who are nearby. Companies are even building their own internal app stores to manage and roll out these tools securely.
And what's powering a lot of this mobile and remote access is another key trend: software as a service, or SaaS. Instead of buying and maintaining these massive hardware and software installations on site, companies can now basically lease software that's hosted by a provider, and you just access it through the internet. It really is like a utility, just like your electric company.
Now, the SaaS model isn't a silver bullet. It's a trade-off. On one hand, yeah, it's much more affordable up front, getting it set up is way faster, and you don't need a huge IT staff to manage it all. But on the other hand, you are trusting a third party with your data, you're totally dependent on your internet connection, and you might have less flexibility to customize the software to your exact needs.
So when we put all of these different pieces together, the real-time data capture, the lightning-fast analysis, and the mobile delivery, a whole new picture starts to emerge. We're not really talking about separate technologies anymore. We're talking about a single, cohesive vision for the future: the intelligent enterprise. So here it is, the complete solution, all in one flow. It starts with RFID, capturing what's happening in the real world moment by moment. That data then gets fed into an in-memory business intelligence engine for instant analysis. And then finally, the cloud, SaaS, and mobile apps deliver those crucial insights to any employee on any device, anywhere in the world. It all works together. This integration really brings us to one final powerful question. What happens when every single product on a shelf, every step in a supply chain, and every person in an organization is connected and sharing data in real time? Well, the answer is you get a business that isn't just automated, but truly intelligent. One that's able to sense, respond, and adapt instantly. And that is the future that these technologies are building for us right now.